Happy that you're here joining us today. My name is Agent P, also known as Pan, and as you can tell, we have pretty much a full squad in the building. So welcome to Amir, John, Anwar, Daryl, and Nabil. Welcome, guys. So in terms of today's topic and debate, we will be talking about who we feel is this season's NBA MVP for the regular season. There's some interesting candidates to talk through. And as we all know now, too, we essentially got the green light that the NBA is going to be returning shortly in terms of the season's restarting again as of July 31st, and in terms of like a makeshift season transitioning into the playoffs. So let's get this discussion kicked off. I know John's been rubbing his hands like Birdman for this topic, ready to get it all started. So, John, how about you start off and let us know who is your NBA MVP for this year?
Okay, well, first off, let me just say this year it is a tight race at times. I'm looking at the information. I gotta take Harden into account. I have to look at what LeBron's done, especially as before the season when I'm on pause there. Giannis has brought it from the beginning to the end, so it's pretty close. But when I really get into the numbers, it's all Giannis. Everything, all the way through.
This guy threw the piece of paper.
It's all Giannis. I'm gonna break it down here a little bit.
You need to pick that piece of paper up, or?
Yeah, you need that, bro?
Yeah. Let me give you a minute, bro. Like,
I don't need that. It's all in the head. It's all good. So
hold on.
For the first part,
can we get a disclaimer on where you're from?
Yeah, no. Very important.
And where this MVP candidate is from?
Very important.
Honestly, I was up in the air and then I didn't know who to pick. And then I wasn't sure for a while.
Nice doll, bro. Nice doll.
This man's playing with dolls.
No, but honestly, there are compelling arguments to be made, for sure. But ultimately, if I take a look, and we all have to look at the story and the stats and the whole picture of what's going on. So for me, I'm going to start off with just the basic numbers, which most of us are pretty familiar with. If you break down the categories in terms of what's what and who's leading the way, we're going to look at field goal percent, and we got Giannis leading the way. We're going to look at 2-point percentage as well as effective overall. It's Giannis and Giannis again. If we're looking at offensive rebounds, Giannis is leading the way. We're looking at defensive rebounds, Giannis. Total rebounds, Giannis. Blocks, Giannis. Across the board, for most categories, for this year, for regular season, it's Giannis. Now, Harden does have the case, of course, for the most points, but the downside to that, for me at least, is that he's putting up a lot of shots, for one. His field goal percentage is the worst of the top 10, and his turnover rate is the highest. So, as much as I want to put him there as first, I can't make that jump, if you will. So those are the basic stats. The second part of it all is the advanced stats. So a lot of us hear terms sometimes about, what's the net rating or player efficiency or whatnot. So net rating, of course, is offensive minus defensive. Kawhi is sitting at about 11.4. LeBron's 10.3. Giannis is first with 16. So we've got the basic done. Now we're going to advance, and we can see exactly to differentiate, really get a good picture of where we separate these top 10 contenders. Player efficiency, again, you have Harden second, Anthony Davis is third, and Giannis is first by far. Now, the most interesting stat I'm going to go with, of course, is the blocks plus minus. Now, typically, you're going to have someone between 5 and 10 to put yourself in an all-star category. And this is really where it differentiates it for me to show exactly what Giannis is doing. So right now, you have Harden and Kawhi at about 9. Giannis is doing an all-time top 10 performance. He is at 11.5. So I'm trying to convey exactly that. My opinion here being that it's not just the basic stats, there's also the advanced stats of what he's done. And it's kind of, to me and what I see, it's pretty unanimous. I mean, you have Jalen Rose, Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith, everyone out there saying the same thing that I've been saying. It's Giannis from start to end. Paul Pierce. If you want to say LeBron, I'd say yeah, he's pretty close as well. But LeBron, I'll give him the assists award. I'm not going to give him much more than that. The other side of it as well that I have to bring up is what they're doing as a team and in conjunction. So if we're looking at the team ups that are going, we have LeBron has Anthony Davis, Harden has Westbrook, Kawhi has Paul George. My question right off the bat, who does Giannis have? The argument can't be made for Middleton. He'll drop 25 one night, 6 the next.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right?
It's part of it. It's part of it. I can understand, and you can't say that that's not within Giannis's control. That's just, for me, that just shows more proof that he's doing it both offensively and defensively. Rebounds, efficiency. Another key point I want to bring up is we're talking about MVP, but we have to keep in mind also the other part that he's being considered for, which is Defensive Player of the Year. Now, in '88, Jordan won it for both awards in the same season. And then 94 was Akeem, Nabil's favorite, of course. He won it in 94. Since 94, no player has won it in the same season. This year, roughly 80% of the votes that have come in are saying that Giannis is going to win both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. So if you're taking that into consideration of everything else, it shows he's not just doing it offensively, but defensively, guarding the rim across the board. He's been getting the job done. So for me personally, that's where I see him standing out in every reasonable measure that we have. Points per game third, rebounds third, double-doubles first, efficiency first. Everything basically that you can measure a player by to say, are they making this happen? For me, hands down, it's Giannis. Shaq, everyone loves Shaq, and he's open about his criticism of others. And when he supports another player, he said before that Giannis was better than him at age 24. Most recently, it makes the news, when he said about, he has my Superman title. So those are fun and entertaining. I won't bore the crowd too much with numbers. I know people get bored of them sometimes, but when I look at them and I dig, it reveals the truth of exactly how far apart Giannis is and above the rest. Lastly, but not least, I'll leave it with what Charles Barkley said. Pretty good quote. If you're thinking about for LeBron over Giannis, you're just an idiot. And that's the way I see it with these numbers that come straight out. They paint a perfect picture of me for why he's the MVP, why it's unanimous in my view. And I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on why, if anything, what exactly would Giannis not be getting the MVP for?
So, John, I appreciate your book report in terms of what you put together. I know, is any of us really surprised? I knew it as soon as we saw a bobblehead that I know you hold very close and dear to you alongside a jersey that you sleep beside every single night. It's all good in terms of your pick. I'm not surprised about your pick of Giannis, but
of course.
Let's put it out there. I mean, you laid out a lot of stats. I started thinking you were Daryl Morey all of a sudden with all the stats and all the analytics in the background, PER, advanced nets ratings, whatever it is.
Everything, every metric.
Everything, but at the same time, that's great. So let's really talk about it right now. My MVP for this season is LeBron James. And here's why. For the season, LeBron James is averaging 25.7 points, 7.9 rebounds, 10.6 assists, 1.2 steals, and 0.5 blocks. The 10.6 assists lead the NBA at age 35. That's pretty impressive while still averaging about 26 points a game. He's playing at such a – pardon me, Daryl?
He's 36.
That's what I'm saying. Playing at such a level at 35 plus years old, 10 years, the elder statesman of the young Giannis in terms of this piece. Year 17 NBA, a testament to his longevity, playing at such a high level. The Lakers also have the best record in the Western Conference, arguably playing in a much tougher conference right now in terms of competition. With the league about to start, they've actually invited 13 teams from the Western Conference because they're still jockeying for playoff positioning. So that also shows you how loaded the West is in terms of competitive spirit. That's not taking anything away from the East. The East, you have our top 4 players in the East in terms of teams that can probably compete for a championship.
Mhm.
In terms of also nostalgia factor, I mean, LeBron has 4 MVPs so far in his career. If he was to win this year as well, it would be his 5th MVP. And we just watched The Last Dance in terms of NBA and the presentation there. So maybe this is the season that the voters are also appreciating the longevity of what LeBron's bringing to the table as well. We can't deny the talent and what he's been able to bring to the table. John, you mentioned who does Giannis have in terms of help? Let me tell you, you mentioned Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton right now, as overrated as I think he is,
Trash.
this season he is playing at such a high level. Yes, he's an all-star, and he's also at a 50, 40, 90 clip. 50% from the field goal, 40% from three-point line, and 90% from the free throw line. Okay? Only 8 people in history have ever achieved the 50, 40, 90 mark. Okay? So that's putting out there. So Giannis has help as much as you say that he doesn't have help. The games that Giannis has been out, Middleton has dropped 50 points. He had a triple-double in a battle against Bradley Beal as well. So Middleton can get buckets. And I think the Bucks still have a solid record even with Giannis out of the lineup. You talk about the record for the Bucks. The Bucks are only 3 games ahead of the Lakers in terms of overall records. If you're looking at regular season, we have 8 games left to play as part of this regular season. Who's to say that the Bucks don't go on a slump? Giannis did get injured in that last game against the Lakers as well, so I think he has a little boo-boo in his knee that he's just trying to tend to. So let's see if he even plays towards the end. I mean, is it really a foregone conclusion? LeBron was having some steady array of momentum. They had just beaten the Pelicans in terms of Zion and what was coming there in terms of momentum. They had beaten the Clippers and they had just beaten the Bucks as well. So the Lakers were playing at a very steady and high clip as well. So, I mean, that's my arguments right now in terms of why I feel LeBron's the MVP. And, you know, if we're talking about Giannis, he has great numbers throughout the regular season, but he's a regular season player. Are the teams really trying to defend him during the regular season? I'm not really sure because we know in the playoffs, he doesn't have the best track record. Teams start packing the paint. They dare him to shoot. I still haven't seen him shoot properly from the outside. And even in terms of free throws, I've seen a ton of air balls from Giannis as well. So if that's your MVP has the ability to shoot air ball free throws as well. So yeah, that's my argument in terms of why LeBron is this season's MVP.
Okay, before I agree with a fair bit of what you said, but as we're going to keep the stats here, just to keep things.
Yo, we're good with the stats, bro. We're good.
We're bringing up just to keep up because it's kind of interesting fact here. We're talking for field goal percentage. Free throws I'll give him, but out of Kawhi, Doncic, LeBron, Harden, and Giannis, just field goal percentage. Best one is Giannis. Just standing it out there. I just want
But
to.
you're like,
Yeah, but what's field goal,
He's
bro?
shooting from in the key,
guards,
right?
man.
Like
He's dunking.
Fair. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure it is different. Yeah, it's different from shooting from like 2 feet within. I'll
Yeah,
agree.
he's dunking, right? He's taking 2 steps or whatever he does, and
I'll agree.
that's his game. To finish around the rim. So, and unfortunately, that's field goal, right? Like, if that was a different category, it would be a different story.
I mean, you can take a prime example where when he's shooting free throws, he's averaging 63%. So, I mean, give him a 15, 18-footer jumper, which he obviously hasn't proven yet that he's good with that. Maybe that percentage drops. Because, I mean, all of us can hit a layup any day of the week. So, I mean, field goal percentage is a bit, I think it's a
Skewed.
stat you don't want to kind of go by.
Dude, yeah.
That's just my personal opinion.
Not
Fair
taking
enough.
anything away from him. Like,
No, he's definitely a top candidate.
He's a
but-
beast.
He's
Like,
dominant. Like there's no denying that,
sure,
right? Like
for sure.
he's definitely dominant.
John, I just think it's a
I
boring
think the
pick.
question.
It's a boring
the question
pick.
would be,
It's a safe pick. It's a boring
It's-
pick, John.
It's an obvious pick.
but the question here for is how many players do you see go inside the lane, driving inside? They don't get double teamed, but they get triple teamed. That is always the case with Giannis because all the teams.
There's
During the
a lot of
regular
players in
season,
the
I think you're thinking of the Raptors series when Nick Nurse put up that wall.
Bro,
I think
Steph
that's still
Curry gets-
fresh in your head.
Not just then.
Yeah.
Though. Yes, I agree, but not just then. So what my point being is that the teams
Yep.
recognize that Giannis is so dominant inside. So you have to take that into consideration. So yes, that field goal percentage is high, but other
But
teams
that's
are
just the other team reacting.
How
That's
powerful
called a
it
game
is.
plan.
for sure.
That's just basketball, X's and O's, right? Like do what you got to do to stop the other player,
No, I'll
Yeah,
argue.
right? And
man.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they recognize, they know that he can go inside because usually if you have a player going 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, that's usually enough. But to be throwing 3 guys on, I mean, come on. That's
But
LeBron
aren't a
gets
lot
that
of
now.
his points in transition though? Like, aren't a lot of his points in transition?
Yeah.
yeah. Often,
Right. So it's
often
not
they are
necessarily a set defense. per
Yeah,
se.
like I was gonna say, I was like,
Depends, yeah.
'cause when that game slows down, like they're jacking up threes, man. Like that team's jacking up threes. They don't even use them in the post in a half court. Like it's very rare.
Exactly.
Like we saw that through that series, man. Like they didn't use him in the post. They should have because
they should have.
he was
That's
like
bad
there was
coaching,
nothing
yeah.
that we could do to stop him, but they never used him in the post. Like and
Yeah.
all he did was run up the court, dribble, and run into a wall and have to pull back out.
Yeah, and then that wasn't his fault. That was his teammates, right? His teammates got to make those shots. He had players on the team during those series making 20, 30%. Like, come on, you're a professional basketball player and you're going to shoot 25%?
It's playoffs, so like they're getting covered a lot more like properly.
slows
than
down,
they would-
defense
like there's
tightens
a
up.
lot more effort on the defensive end.
Still, typically,
I just
the
think
average
that you're
player is
using- you're
40
also
to 50%.
They're using Middleton as the cop out, right? Like when the team's rolling, you hear nothing about Middleton, but when they lose, it's like, oh, you know, Middleton's garbage, Bledsoe's garbage. Like when you're
Because
take
they
a good
are.
look at that.
But John, you just spewed off a list of stats about Giannis. I just told you that Middleton is playing at a historic level in terms of
Balling.
he could be the
40-90,
ninth.
right?
He could be the 9th person in history to join. Bro, look who's on this list: Larry Bird, Malcolm Brogdon,
Right.
Steph Curry, Steve Nash, Dirk Nowitzki, KD, Reggie Miller, Mark Price, and you can possibly throw Chris Middleton in this. So you can't give that excuse anymore that Giannis has no one. He has
No,
people
no, no.
with him. It's
I'd
the
like-
He has
appreciation
people.
of them. It's
He
the
has people, and I
appreciation of
was
them.
aware of the 50, 40, 90, but my point being is with Middleton, if you're doing a series best of 7, how confident are you that Middleton's going to come through in those games? Because
This is a regular season discussion, John, in terms of who's the MVP for the regular season. The playoffs, we know that Middleton disappears. That's nothing new here. And he's going to disappear this season as well. I'm not worried about that. And that's not the debate. The debate is in the regular season, because Milwaukee's a regular season team. Giannis is a regular season player right now. And that's what's happening in terms of the help that he has. That's the point in terms of the 50, 40, 90.
Yes.
No one cares about
Fair.
50, 40, 90 in the playoffs.
Let me ask you guys
So
shut
here's the
down,
question
man.
then. Would you take Chris Middleton over any of the other second players? Would you take him over Paul George and Kawhi? Would you take Middleton? Or Anthony Davis and LeBron? Would you take Middleton?
It's not the debate here. It's the
Brooklyn
element of
Harden,
who's
would you
fitting
take
on that
But
team.
hold on.
The
Let's
answer in
say,
all
let's
these
say we do
scenarios
add one of those
is no.
players.
We would never
Let's say
take
if you
Middleton.
do add John.
Good
If
point.
you add one of
Good
those
point.
players to Milwaukee, you add one of those players, it takes away from what Giannis
Giannis.
is doing because they're also
Yep.
ball dominant. So you can't say, would you take this guy? Like Middleton works with Giannis, right? It works with
They
his style
mesh.
of play. It
They
works with
mesh.
the ball
He
dominance,
gives the ball to him.
right? You put Paul George on that team, guess what? Paul George needs the ball, right? You put Kawhi, he needs the ball.
Oh yeah.
So it takes away from what he's doing.
It's
It's
because it's him,
around
man.
him largely, yeah. But I'm just saying if they had someone more consistent. But I
I
agree,
would like to note.
Middleton is different. I agree with the play.
I would like to note that Malcolm Brogdon was also on that list. So
Mm,
And that guy's a
two of
stud.
those dudes last year, and it didn't make a difference.
trash.
Brogdon got injury.
Oh, he was
Come on,
playing.
bro. He was
Yeah, I
playing.
saw him in the series, bro.
He lost out six weeks. He came back when he was pretty injured. But anyway, who's on next? Who's on next?
Yeah,
Steering
they
this-
should have kept him over Bledsoe. I don't know what they're thinking, but whatever.
Steering this convo back into the regular season MVP, I know, JV had good points and so did Pan. But me personally, I'm going to be inclined to go the safe route, and I'm going to actually agree with Pan and say that for me, my regular season MVP is LeBron James. Pan listed all the stats, the age that he's doing it at, almost averaging a triple-double. Yes, you can argue he has Anthony Davis. He has star players with him. But to be number one in, I think, the more difficult conference, which is the Western Conference, to be putting up the numbers that he is and keeping his team afloat, because we all know with the injuries and whatnot, people come, people go. But the way before this whole COVID-19 situation, the way LeBron was playing at such an elite level, I personally think for me, I would go with LeBron James as the regular season MVP. And the points I provided, the points Agent P provided, I think that's our case for LeBron James as the regular season MVP.
Nobody thinks about this kid, to be honest. But he might not win it this year. He might not win it next year. But like at some point, I think John, your boy's gonna plateau. That's my opinion. But Luka, I think Luka's coming, man. Like, how long's he been in the league? 2 years?
100%, man. 100%.
2 years, right? The amount this kid has done in 2 years unbelievable. Rookie of the year. Currently, like this is crazy. Currently, the Mavericks have the best offensive rating, not just in this season, in NBA history. Like that's crazy, dude. Like think about that.
That is.
You have you have the dynasty of the Warriors, Showtime Lakers, Jordan's Bulls, and like they're saying it's because of this kid, right? Currently, he's sitting in. I'm not gonna rhyme off all the stats. I'm not a stats guy. It's more emotion, I think, for me. But 28 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists on 57% shooting. Like that's pretty good. Again,
You're shooting
in a
57%?
company, yeah, on 57, yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. So like he right now he is in this class of. There's only a few people in this class: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, and James Harden.
Wow.
Like
That's
at
comforting.
21 years old.
Some
Gotta
company.
look that up.
That's
That's
21
crazy.
years, man. Like I said, he's fourth or fifth right now in like the ESPN ranking. Obviously, you know there's certain stats which are better than Giannis. Obviously, the 3-point shooting and free throw shooting there's no comparison there, right? But I mean, in terms of what this kid can do, second year, and I'm not surprised, man. Like he's coming from a hard European kind of system where he was MVP at 18, right? So he came in, he kind of gelled really, really well here in the NBA, and like I said, not this year, not next year, but he's coming, man. And I'm saying multiple MVPs.
Yeah, he's gonna be a problem in this league for sure.
Yeah, I think he has a bright future. Absolutely.
Because not only does it with like this guy's averaging almost a triple double, and he's what
Every year.
21 years old.
21
Like, come
years
on,
old,
man.
man.
Let's
Just
be
turned 20.
honest.
He already has that veteran game about him, right? He's already been playing with.
I don't know if
grown
these
men
European
going in.
players are like trained like that, man, but they come in like a different breed.
No,
Well, he was playing professionally since he was like 13,
16.
14 or something?
Yeah.
professionally since 16 in that European league. But yeah, I mean, he has a long history of playing.
But he left home
Um,
when he was young, man. Yeah.
Left home when he was young. We all know European basketball is not soft, right? Like they go hard on like the fundamentals and obviously
Yeah.
the contact, right? Like it's a bit more. So like I think he even said it, right? He was like, you know, it's if someone asked him, how do you score so much? And he was like, it's easy over here, right? So yeah, man, this guy has a bright future. You know, like I said, multiple MVPs coming his way if he stays healthy, if he has a good cast, which he does around him. His team right now is stacked.
Yeah, it's good.
Right?
Good team.
Yeah.
He's only shooting 46% though, not 57.
Oh,
Yeah, I
is he?
saw that as well.
Yeah. I was like 57. Holy shit. I was like,
Yeah, shooting 46.1%.
yeah.
But he's
Still
averaging
solid numbers.
almost
Yeah,
a
yeah,
triple-double.
still solid.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
still solid. Super solid.
Like, you know what? Sitting at the 7th seed in the West, I mean, depending on how this.
Yeah.
How it works out, yeah.
But yo, if they play the 2nd seed, I mean, it might be the Clippers, but that could be a scary matchup for them.
They have what?
I agree.
Hardaway Jr. Who else?
Kristaps Porzingis.
Porzingis, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Good coach, Carlisle. Carlisle's a
Good
good
coach,
coach.
yeah.
Let's be good.
Definitely.
So for me, I'm not a big fan of the MVP in general. Like I don't really put too much stock in it, but when you say it, I just think I relate it to like who is the most valuable to the team. Like if you remove that person from the team, what would that team be? That's how I kind of look at it. So from that perspective, unfortunately, I would have to agree with John.
Yeah.
But I am not. I have a dark horse MVP because I know he's not going to get it, but I think he deserves some credit and some respect, and that's Chris Paul of OKC.
Definitely.
Because if you think about it, before this season, this team was not supposed to be anything. They were thinking of dealing him. They weren't even thinking of making the playoffs. They're looking at full rebuild. And he got traded from Houston, and currently right now they're sitting at 40-24 in 5th place, while Houston is in 6th place, fighting for home court advantage with like 19 games left. They're 19 games left, and they're 4 games out of 2nd place. Like that's pretty. I'd say that's pretty impressive considering. Like he was the main reason I think that they were even competitive against that Golden State team back in that 7-game series.
Well,
And I
he got
just think-
injured, right? Game
He
6.
got injured at the
Yeah.
late
He
stages.
did get
Yeah.
injured. He's just underrated. Like you people forget about him, I think, and like how great of a leader he actually is. And I would just say like if you took him away from that team, I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they're closer to, 12, 13, sitting at that range. But yeah, I just like him. I don't think he's gonna win, but good for him. And unfortunately, but if not him, I will have to roll with Giannis on this one because he is having a great season.
Okay. So the usual suspects, right? LeBron and Giannis. Honorable mentions, right, with Luka, and definitely some impressive stats there from Luka. But I'm just gonna throw someone else in the mix, right? AD, Anthony Davis, right? LeBron's getting all the recognition, right? In terms of numbers, AD's averaging 26.7 points a game, 9.4 rebounds a game. And then on these stats, he's got Giannis beat. Blocks, 2.4. Steals, 1.5. Free throws, Giannis dreams, 84.5%. 3-point percentages, 33.5%. Also higher than Giannis. All that in 34 minutes, right? So, yeah, definitely LeBron, what he's doing at 36 is respectable. But at the same time, let's not forget what Anthony Davis is doing, right?
That's
the other thing is with Giannis, right? With AD, this year they're winning at 78%. Without AD last year, Lakers had a 45% winning percentage. So LeBron was there last year, right? Yeah, he's doing great things, but it just goes to show the value, right, of AD on that team.
Yeah,
LeBron did get injured though. He got injured with the groin, so they were in contention for the playoffs. Yeah.
I get it, right? But this is AD's there. He's playing. The winning percentage is almost 80%, right? And then again, some of the stats, right? He's got Giannis beat clearly, right? It's Giannis, for example, he's got 63% free throw percentage, which is terrible if you're going to be a superstar, right? Going to the line 10 times a game, that's a terrible percentage, right? Let's be honest, right? Then you got 3-point percentage, 33%, man. For Anthony Davis, right? That's not bad for a 7-footer, right? A legit 6'10", okay? I think he's what Giannis wants to evolve into in terms of all the other stats. And I think we have to put some respect on his name. And I think it'll happen maybe next year, right? Maybe he'll get it next year once LeBron gets his next MVP.
Mm-hmm. I think definitely. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's why I didn't put LeBron in it, because you have two guys on the same team who are considered top 5 in the NBA. How can you say one's better than the other, or one's more valuable than the other? Without them, they're still a contender team, or a contending team to me.
Exactly.
I don't know if about a contending team without LeBron on that team. That Lakers team is the Pelicans. That team is essentially the Pelicans with AD doing all the heavy lifting. In my opinion,
it's
right?
Fighting for a playoff spot, playoff
right,
team.
Fighting for a playoff spot versus number 1 in the West.
Yeah.
That's a big difference there. I think to Daryl's point, I think the league is in good hands in terms of AD and even Giannis. I think Giannis has the opportunity to win many more MVPs to come. I want to throw this out there to the group, great selections in terms of even Luka and even Chris Paul. You got to give love to that guy. I mean, he's very underrated. And I think back to even old school New Orleans Hornets in terms of just the leadership that he provided. And man, they gave that Spurs team a run for the money, even in the playoffs. So
definitely.
That
was my favorite Chris Paul. Him and D-West.
Him and D-West for sure, man.
and even the trade that never happened, right? Where the Mito trade that he could have gone to the Lakers. So Chris Paul could have been with the Lakers much earlier with Kobe, right? So who knows how that would have segued as well. But I want to put it out to the guys as well, in terms of you never know how the voters are going to react, right? In terms of MVP in a way is also a popularity contest, or what's in the here and the now in terms of media presentation. So it could be different narratives that they look at. Are they looking at hey, Giannis is 25 years old. He's looking for a back-to-back MVP setup in terms of last year to this year. Or are they going to give the elder statesman, LeBron, the model of consistency, year 17 in the league? I'd say those two are definitely in the thick of things. And AD's right there as a third place, in terms of rounding out, the top 5 or the top 3 or whatnot for voting. So it'll be interesting. And the season's not done yet. You never know what they might place weight on. Yes, Giannis has had a very strong season, but at the same time, you what LeBron has done, man, it's just a model of consistency. It's just been, and you guys know it better than anybody. My thoughts on LeBron and how he might have left Cleveland and decision making and just the whole perception with the Heatles. And I'm not the biggest advocate for LeBron, but I can't deny what he's doing in year 17. And I think it's also coming with, as the years have progressed, like for the last maybe 10 plus years, he's been either one or two in the league in terms of the best player, and he hasn't won the MVP every single year. If you really want to talk about it, he could have won a whole host of more MVPs before this. So it depends on how the voting goes. They also know that LeBron has 4 MVPs. Could it be that they maybe give him a 5th MVP? Is it that outlandish? I don't think so. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I just want to put it out there as well.
Yeah, those are good points.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and I think the emotional side of it is, especially like those last games where LeBron, they won like 7 games or something like that. I feel like a lot of people did go towards LeBron's camp on that. Of course, now we have the break, so we'll see if the Lakers come back together the way they were. But absolutely, his age as well is playing a huge part. It does, obviously, I'll be open about it. It does upset me a little bit, though, because to me, if I'm who's the best player, I don't want to take age into account. I just want to say strictly who is the most valuable player right now. You put on the court, offensively, defensively, who's carrying the team. To me, I've already made my points.
Age is a huge thing, though, bro. Like,
but age, I know, but age is
that.
But it's
I agree. It makes it makes a good story.
It's,
That's my concern. Is age makes a great story.
That's the beauty of the narrative.
It's facts,
it's
bro.
not like, oh, here's an award because you're 36 years old.
It's proof.
Here's an award because you're killing it. Like there's no denying it, right?
He's doing great.
And similar to Pan, right? You guys know. No, but similar to Pan, right? Like you guys know, like I have a hard time conceding to LeBron, right? But
we all do.
But right, like I will. Aside from AD, right? Like I would give it to LeBron as well, right? Because there's no denying what he's doing, man. Like at 36 years old, right? Like our age, right? Like I could barely walk up the stairs properly without my knees hurting, man. Like, and he's doing this at like, 70, how many games has he played? Like he's played every game this season, if I'm not mistaken. Right? So for what he's doing, like he's
impact.
Gained a lot of my respect this season.
John,
no, 100%.
Go ahead, Nabil. Go ahead.
No, 100%. That's why I agree with all you guys. Like, luckily, this isn't a GOAT conversation because that'd be a different story.
Yeah.
A lot of us wouldn't be on that LeBron bandwagon. However, being a regular season MVP, I mean, the 1.2 million spending on his body does help for him to be performing at the age that he is at. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. But going to what Agent P was asking, like, what do they take into consideration for the MVP? I know it's stats, team record-wise. Will they look at age? Like, I don't know. I mean, we're not the guys who do the votes.
Popularity contest, man. Like,
yeah, that's why I don't put too much stock in it because it's definitely not the best player.
No.
Guys, the best player doesn't always get it. I mean, sometimes I'm sure they do, but the best player doesn't always get it. So what is the criteria? I don't know.
I think it'd be good if they had 2 rankings. If they had a regular season MVP and a
finals MVP,
not just the final series.
Remember that one, bro?
Like final series is fine, but they should have a full year MVP. That's what they should.
Finals MVP though. That's the finals MVP.
No, but that's kind of more so strictly for the finals. I agree with JV where if they had like the regular season and playoffs, like the whole season encompassed.
Oh, like a playoffs MVP.
Yeah, I mean, because for example, you can take last year, right?
Wouldn't that have to be from the championship team?
Not necessarily. I mean,
because you can have the best player that's not on the best team. That happens often. So the best player, I'm saying, should get that accepted respect, even if they don't win the championship in the end.
So you would still have a.
Honestly, man, like I will say that I get what you're saying, but I'm not a fan of like participation awards.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're gonna get an award, you're going to get that by winning the NBA championship. Like, okay, thanks for coming out. Here's an award. No, like, what's the point of that, man? Like, you're getting an award because you made it to the end. Survival of the fittest, right? You won. You deserve an award.
Yeah, but they have awards for everything too, right? They have Defensive Player of the Year, got Rookie of the Year, Most Improved.
Those are all.
That's all regular season. Those are all regular season stuff.
Right. Yeah, but it makes it all entertaining. I know what you're saying, but then that would just be like you just want championships. Is that like?
No,
that's what
saying,
the playoffs are about.
Who cares? Like who cares about a participation award? What really counts is what you do at the end of the day. Do you come out a champion? Do you not? And if maybe if you're the best player in that series, you get an MVP award. That's the one that really counts to me.
John, right? You know how much I love DeMar.
Yeah.
At the same time, when he left or when he got traded, like I understood that you're getting a better player that will perform in the playoffs.
For sure. Like
the regular season is just when you go into the playoffs, like, remember how frustrating it was, those losses? Like, you just like once you're in the
Yeah.
playoffs, just win. Like that's all that matters. It's the only thing that matters.
It's a different world in the playoffs.
That's also
man.
the ghost of
For
LeBron,
sure.
though, right? Like that's also a lot of LeBron's a big part of that, right? It's not necessarily.
Maybe
I think, like,
maybe
I
the
think-
first 2 years, but that third year where he had nobody and our team was fully loaded, like that was that.
Also,
that
our
was,
coach too, right? Like let's put some of that on our coach, right?
Yeah,
When
no,
things
I think it
Pound
was
the
the
rock.
coach,
Right?
100%. But at the same time, it's like we should have won.
I
This.
know what you're saying, though.
Or at
I
least
hear
the
you. I know
game.
what you're saying.
John, just
I
want
think for me, it's just an argument of having the best player, but not necessarily on the best team. That's what, and I'm not just saying that because of Giannis, but just ultimately, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'd just like for the best player in the league year round to be recognized. I don't know if I'll add that.
but we're debating
Um,
that right now,
Yeah.
like, so it's not really
For
a
sure.
consensus, right? That's why they have ratings and like ladder rankings, and like even right now there have been solid candidates mentioned in this conversation of people who are on the rise or who could be in the running. I mean, you spewed off a list of stats and another page of stats related to like why Giannis essentially should be the MVP. But for you, like, I want to put it out to you as well, John, like keep this in mind as well in terms of like it is a story sometimes in terms of what leads to an MVP being crowned, and
That's what worries me.
down as well. Kobe's passing, rest in peace to Kobe.
Mhm.
LeBron has the Lakers playing at such a high level and
Mhm.
essentially, carrying that franchise. Think about narrative as well there in terms of, what the storyline might play. And it might be something that goes against Giannis this year, but that's not to say that he didn't have a great season, right? So
Mhm.
it's not that far-fetched to me if LeBron ends up taking the regular season MVP. And I'm with you guys 1,000%. I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about trophies. We want to win actual finals trophies and finals championships, and finals MVPs is what I really regard. But for the purpose of this conversation, we have really fixated on the regular season MVP. And you talk about both sides of the ball, John. I mean, to D's point, I think Anthony Davis probably should be the defensive player of the year as well in terms of his numbers. If you're looking at both sides of the ball, LeBron's averaging more steals than Giannis. Okay, so if we're looking at stats, LeBron has 1.2 steals a game. Giannis is just over a steal a game. So I mean, at the age and at the tenure that LeBron is playing at year 17, there's a lot of critique usually of like, hey man, LeBron's not playing defense. He's only playing one side of the ball. Well, he's averaging more steals than a young, spry 25-year-old in Giannis. So just want to put that out there as well. So like he's playing both sides, man. So that's also a testament to LeBron as well.
It's also
I
impact,
agree with
too.
that. I'll counter it though, just with he is technically beating him, but he's only beating him with an average of 1.2, whereas
So
Numbers don't
bro.
lie. Numbers don't lie.
numbers
man.
don't lie.
Okay,
It's
so-
1.2 versus 1. It's not. It's
Okay,
not.
but you just said who's the you was just the best player in the league, and you just made your case for Giannis, right? But I don't think Giannis is the best player in the league. Like, would you like if you want to win, would you take him or would you take Kawhi? Like, to me,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
was
even
gonna
a
say that
question.
exact
That's a
same
great
thing.
We already
That's
know.
not a
He put it in
question
the
at
foot,
all.
baby. We already know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you take
Yeah.
Kawhi if you want to win. If you want
If
to
you
win,
want to
and
win a championship,
or if you want to put up those stats, yes, you're definitely taking Giannis. But
John, who you're
Like,
picking?
if-
Who are
if
you
I
picking in
wanna
a
win-
7-game series? John, who are you picking in a 7-game series? I know
A
we're trying to
7-game
segue.
series. I'm still gonna stick with Giannis.
Get rid of that dog.
Okay,
before
I'm
you
gonna
answer,
stick
though.
with Giannis.
let's
Kawhi,
say
I
risky.
will agree. Kawhi
Come
comes
on,
through in
bro.
the fourth, and he saves
Okay.
the Raptors so many
So-
times.
so
right,
let
in
me
the
put it out
last
to you again.
series.
Kawhi or Kevin Durant.
Go Kawhi.
There you go. Like the point. Or sorry, not Kawhi. Giannis or Kevin Durant.
Oh, okay.
You
There
gotta
you go.
go with
But
Durant.
that's my point, right? Like he's not
It's
universally regarded. He's not universally the best player.
no.
He may be the MVP, but he's not the best player.
And that's why
Right,
I agree.
right, yeah.
That's why I
Yeah,
agree with what D brought up. D brought up a really good point with AD because I feel if AD is healthy, I personally think
Yeah, brother.
he's an overall better
Package.
Giannis.
Yeah.
100%.
Dude, you remember a couple years ago, right, where this guy was playing in New Orleans and he was just balling, right? And he came out and
100%.
said, "I'm the best." The only thing that's held him back is his health. And this year
100%.
he's played every game, man. So like, you're seeing what like we missed out on.
No,
right? Like, we
100%.
really missed out on it just because of health.
No, and John, you
Well,
said
it
the
wasn't
whole
even
like
just-
triple
Sorry, go
team
ahead.
thing, like the whole triple team. AD gets triple teamed all the time, like in the paint all the time, man. So like overall, like that happens to more than like Giannis.
I think AD though, like he's too fragile though. He needs to get in
Too
the
fragile?
some muscle.
AD?
AD is
Played every
way
game.
too.
How's he fragile?
He's way too
Bro,
fast. He doesn't dominate people like Giannis does. He
I
doesn't.
think he's changed his regimen though, man. Now with LeBron and part of that, like Nabil talked about as well, the off season and the training and
He plays
aligning
smarter.
yourself with that type of player who's putting in the work and actually managing his body properly. Like
Facts.
AD was not around that in New Orleans. So like watch out for AD. And AD
I
is only 1
think-
year older than Giannis as well. So I think yes, he's fragile, and like his health goes a long
I
way.
don't know if he's fragile
but-
though, man.
And you brought up a good point, bro, because you know what? Like, similar to the Miami where LeBron joined Wade, Wade taught LeBron kind of how to win. LeBron is going to do the same thing for AD, right? It's a similar thing. It's just like that mentorship. And once LeBron's showing him the ways, the ropes, keep your body healthy, invest in your body. This is how you win. This is how you do it. Sky's the limit for this guy, right? So that's what I'm saying. Next year, too,
It could be.
he's already going to be my favorite, right?
And
like,
it's not only it's not his injuries alone, because if you think about New Orleans, when Boogie Cousins got there, that was a contender. And it was only because
Right.
Boogie
Wait,
Cousins
Towers.
got injured that they didn't go like all the way.
Definitely.
Like I really do think they would have. That team would have given Golden State some problems.
that was a scary team, man.
Yeah.
Scary
Yeah.
team.
Oh yeah,
So
with
it's not
Drew
him,
Holiday at
it's-
point guard.
Yeah,
God,
Drew,
come
right?
on.
Yeah.
So he's probably one of the most underrated players I think in the league.
Yep.
But come on,
Yeah.
man, Drew Holiday and those two.
Like that team
Drew
was
is so
looking
underrated.
dominant to me. I was so hyped for that, and I was just super sad when he got injured, man. That was the worst.
Amir made a great point earlier too, where like look at the well-roundedness of a player as well, right? Like, say what you want about even like a LeBron. LeBron's shooting at like 36% from three, and like as bad as a free throw shooter that he is, he's almost, he's finally shooting at close to a 70% clip from the free throw line as well. Obviously, that's not at the level of an AD who's shooting up, over 80%, but that's telling. And I'm like, for me, when I'm looking at the MVP, even for the regular season, no offense to Giannis, but I think his game's still developing. There's so many things that he has gotten progressively better year by year by year. And John, you listed a great amount of stats speaking to how he's performing for this season, even last season, historical projections, whatever it might be. But for me, ultimately, if you guys agree with me as well, it's the eye test too as well, man. Like, have we seen a very consistent three-point jumper from Giannis? I haven't seen it yet. Have we seen a very steady mid-range that's money like Kawhi's? I haven't seen it yet. Have we seen an increase in free throw percentage? I haven't seen it yet. So like, until that happens, I'm with Amir as well in terms of that point that he made. I don't think Giannis is the best player in the league. I mean, if you talk about well-roundedness, say Kawhi didn't do load management, he would be right in the think of things in terms of being a two-way player who can lock you up and put 26 on your head with ease and shoot from a high clip from the free throw line and still be deadly and efficient.
And defense.
So I think it depends, John. Like, I get it too. You have an affinity for Giannis. You appreciate Giannis. But he's not a bum. He's not a slouch. He's a good player. He's a developing player, and he's going towards greatness for sure. But I still think his game is lacking certain key components where that's why, like, I would give it to LeBron also in terms of a body of work, in terms of this season, like just how well-rounded he is, man. Like almost averaging, 11 assists a game? Like at this stage of his career, it's like a point forward and just directing traffic. And 80 is successful too because of LeBron assisting him on a lot of lobs and passes as well and putting him in positions and pushing the ball. So that's just my thoughts on it, man. In terms of even like if you want to say a final argument, like that's why I say also give it to LeBron. Just overall, just amazing, phenomenal season.
Absolutely. And to counter that, so LeBron was my second pick, and actually he was the one I wasn't gonna go against too much because, as you guys know, been a fan for a while now, right? So, but anyways, Giannis is still number one. And let me break it down a little bit as to why a little bit more further here. So Shaq was a player that you'd have inside the post, right? Giannis is driving down the lane. He can be coming down the wing. It's a different kind of style. He's not going to drop back to make that jump shot, or it's a 16-footer, or he's going to go for threes. That's not his style. And my point as to why he shouldn't do that and why he should not be criticized for it is why would he? He is the most efficient player in the league. There's no reason for him to change any of the formula he has, whether it's net rating
in the regular season, bro.
plus minus. Everything is supporting, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't need to.
This
why
is a
would he
regular
change?
season award.
Why? Yeah, we're talking about regular season right now. So why would he change any of those things when each of those categories he's first, and first? So why would you change something that's working? And to add on to that, earlier, Why would you change something that's going to be a top 10 NBA season all time, 11.5 box plus minus? Don't change that. Tell me.
Because
Anyone have an answer?
because people figure you out. You have to have Arsenal in your game, right? Like it's just not about that. Like teams will figure you out. Yes, it's a regular season, but even more so in the playoffs, they'll figure you out. So if you don't have a 3-point shot or a wicked
No, but
mid-range,
this is the regular season award.
yeah, it's fine. So I mentioned that too, right? Even during the season, teams figure
But-
you out.
No, nobody's figured them out. They have 53 wins.
No,
How
yeah,
are they figuring them out?
they're leading. I'm talking about him as a like personal growth, like having more, adding more to your arsenal than just the kind of layups or dunks.
He could, and we'll see in time. I think his 3-point shot is what he's working on already. Still, he could.
If he gets
He
a
doesn't
3-point
need to.
shot,
He's-
if he gets a
he's
3-point
already-
shot,
Not even
Yeah,
three,
it would
man. Like
change
if he
things.
gets
Yeah.
like a shot from the
shot,
top
yeah.
DP,
The free throw line
my
shot.
God.
I agree.
Free throw line extended.
yeah,
that's pretty
true.
deadly.
that's all I'm
pick
saying,
and
right?
roll
Like,
all day. Pick
yeah.
and roll
He
all
needs
day.
to he
man.
needs to
Like,
go he needs to go like train with like a Karl Malone and like pick up that like pick and roll 18-foot jumper like
off the glass.
or a good
But
Tim
then-
Duncan.
or Tim Duncan off
like,
the glass. I understand what you're saying, JV. Like what he's doing in the regular season is phenomenal. But I think, yes, it's a regular season award. Sure, if you want to give it to him, great. But I think in the longevity of his career, as he gets older, he will slow down.
That's what
He's
I'm
not going to
saying.
be the same. He's not going to have the same athleticism. So he's going to really have to develop other parts of his game. And unfortunately, obviously, playoff is a different beast. We're not even going to talk about that. But I just think to answer your question, he may not have to do that now because he is so efficient. But as you get older, your body is not as as strong. He's going to have to develop that because people will figure him out. And then prime example was last year in the playoffs, which we did figure him out, unfortunately. I mean, if he had an 18-foot jumper.
Fortunately, bro.
Sorry?
Say
Unfortunately for him.
Unfortunately for him.
For Giannis.
Fortunately for us.
Yeah, for sure. I'm
Sorry.
sorry. You know what I mean. Unfortunately for him, like that's how it was, right? So I mean, just to answer your question, I think he needs to develop that during progression of his career.
Right. Okay. And I would agree with you on that. And I'd agree with you on that. In the future, I could see him developing towards that. I agree. But right now, you guys don't think he needs to do that right now, right? Like this year, next year. You're
No,
saying
John,
No, I
don't get me wrong. I mean, I think
that.
I think his stats are like you're right. You spewed him off. You listed him off. He's had a phenomenal season, and like I get your point. Like, why change something that's working? And I would not be surprised if Giannis ends up winning it. And if that's the popular opinion of giving Giannis the back-to-back regular season MVP, it wouldn't be an outrage or a shock associated
Right,
with that,
right,
right?
right.
So like, I mean, like obviously he's been listed as number one on the rankings for a reason. But in terms of today's discussion, I'm saying I would still give it to LeBron. I just feel like, just in terms of overall body of work, what he's done, how he's turned around that Lakers team as well. Such a tough season as well in terms of things that have transpired also for that franchise specifically in terms of losing a legend as well. It's so many layers, so many factors, and it just speaks to obviously his leadership as well. Depends how the voters will go, but I guess that'll be my argument in terms of why I give it to LeBron on top of just a well-rounded season and just being a point forward. And I agree with what these other guys said too. I mean, he's 20. Giannis is 25. Can he still play like that at 35? Like LeBron's producing this type of play 35 years old and over. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like
Very
Giannis is
impressive
going to
at
have to
35.
evolve over the years for sure.
Mhm.
But in terms of this regular season, he may definitely have already locked up the MVP. But we'll see. Is it really that of a divide? I'll be interested to see how the voters go. You never know.
And I know people are saying he needs to add the 3-pointer. I don't agree with that. I think maybe if he gets in the gym with Hakeem a little bit, and he has a
Mid-range.
post game, you're good. You had a proper post game where they can throw it to you in the half court, and a little free throw line jumper. He doesn't need a 3-pointer, man.
Unfortunately, that post game is not really relevant in today's NBA though. It's all about a run and gun type of NBA, right? So I mean,
you
if
need
you
that mid-range.
For now, and then
no,
until you
for
get
sure. I mean,
until you get a player that that does it properly, and then all of a sudden it swings back in that direction.
Sure, if it does that, then great. But I think for him, I think his biggest thing would probably be to develop a smooth, like 15 to 18-foot consistent
yeah.
jumper.
what I'm
I
saying,
think would
yeah,
be the first
yeah.
thing for him.
For sure.
And going back to what Agent P was saying, I think just the narratives and what goes. I think personally, what goes with is like the best record of the NBA. How obviously stats plays a huge thing. So if you go that way, then I think Giannis. Because I'm trying to think back. Like, we just finished the Last Dance documentary, but the couple of seasons, right, where Barkley beat Jordan for the MVP and when Karl Malone beat Jordan. Better records. I don't know how their stats were in comparison, which I would love to check, but it kind of goes like that, right? Obviously, you take Jordan as the best player, not only in that season, some people say ever, but I'm just saying. So, I mean, I think that the people who vote look specifically at the season, and I think the record and the stats play a huge role regardless of any sort of narrative outside of, beyond the court.
For sure. Agreed. Any other final arguments, guys, for the candidates you presented in terms of MVP?
My dude,
John,
I know he's not going to win, so I'm good with that.
I know John's got more to say, man. Like I know you got like 4 pages.
John, any final thoughts with respect to Giannis to make your ultimate final case?
Come on, bro.
He's an entertaining player. One thing we have to point out as well is if we're looking at the whole picture of it, when was the last time you see a player like Giannis to go inside? Who here doesn't get excited, right, to see those dunks he's putting on people?
The mug face.
Now, making 3-point shots, and I still like that as well.
I like it. I like the dunks.
But it's so exciting. So I'm hoping that the narrative.
He's a great player, man.
Yeah.
Just hoping that the narrative, of course, stats and media storyline is going to come together. I only see, for me, 1 point is being his age for LeBron. To me, the rest comes together all in Giannis' favor. We'll see. I'm hoping he gets both Defensive Player of the Year and MVP. That'd be a close case for everything. But time will tell. I understand the LeBron. That's.
I hope.
Sorry.
I hope if he does get the MVP and Defensive Player, like, you better not start comparing him to Jordan and Hakeem. Like, I'm telling you right now, you can't.
Because he still wouldn't be the best player in the league. Like,
I wouldn't.
He hasn't won anything in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If he gets it like for the next 3 years or so, or if they win some championships.
Okay, John, you wouldn't take him over LeBron to start the team. You wouldn't take him over Kawhi. You wouldn't take him over Durant.
Nope.
You wouldn't take him over arguably Anthony Davis. Like, you might like.
Who wins? What do you mean?
Like, I don't know, man. Like, like I don't even know if I take him over Klay Thompson.
I would take him over. No, Giannis. Like, if you're saying, even we'll go with LeBron for example, right? Offensively, if you're going Giannis and LeBron, I'm taking him. If you're going defensively, like,
you're taking who? Who did you say?
I'm taking Giannis, 100%.
Offensively,
and this isn't just. Let's look at the.
So
here's one thing. Here's one thing I'll mention. Actually, another thing is.
Oh my God, John! What?
And per minute play, okay? If you look up usage stats and per minute play,
my head.
Giannis is averaging almost 9 points more than LeBron by comparison. That's a direct head-to-head comparison. Direct head-to-head comparison on stats on who's offensively better.
Oh my!
John,
LeBron makes everybody else better.
You're crazy.
LeBron makes everybody else better on his team. You're telling me you're not going to take him?
John, let me.
I would take Giannis.
Let me throw in my final.
You think Giannis is going to be doing those dunks on prime LeBron, like a younger LeBron? No,
not happening.
He would get bodied.
That's a chase down block.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
That's chase down block now, man.
I'll stick with Giannis.
Okay.
Well, as you guys could see, very interesting MVP discussion. We definitely have very strong opinions for certain candidates, and we also have, great, overall candidates that were brought forward. So thank you guys for just your thoughts and what you brought forward. John, we'll have further discussions about Giannis, I'm sure, in future episodes as well. But just want to thank everyone for tuning in to Beyond the Court, our 7th episode. Who's your MVP for this season? I know it's as much of, so many people will say it's Giannis. Who's your MVP in terms of, like, do you have LeBron up there? Do you have another candidate like an Anthony Davis up there as well? So feel free to comment and like and subscribe on our page here. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button there as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and take care. Be safe. Stay blessed.
Peace.